always knew that the secret to life is to be of service to other people. That was the way to be rich. That was the way to be happy. To just seemed way too onerous. And as I heard it from so many sources, I just kind of got numb to it. Like, oh, serve others, be of service to others, be useful, be helpful. And just kind of got sick of it. And I felt I couldn't implement it. Even all the times that I realized it was good advice and true advice and godly, I just couldn't implement it because I just felt so thirsty, so needy for attention, so thirsty for kindness and nurturing. I just had nothing in me to give to other people. As a general rule, I find that the happier you are, the more interested you are in being of service to other people. If someone is depressed, is terribly sad, needy, they just have nothing to give to other people. And it's kind of pointless telling someone who's depressed you should go be of service to others, because when you have this giant hole in your soul, most people just aren't capable in that kind of state of being of service to others. And I always thought that service had to suck. It had to be onerous. It had to be the equivalent of eating your vegetables, and I don't like vegetables. So I wanted to pursue my own pleasure. I wanted to pursue political change, and social change, and pursue deep thinking and clarity and all sorts of things, but I didn't really want to be of service. And so I stumbled along, and my life didn't really work that well. I remember I had a construction job, and the owner of the landscaping company that I work for said that if you just learn to treat people the way Doug Hanslick does, he was the big boss. He was the construction magnate. The little boss said, you'd be rich, you'd be happy, everyone would love you. And I knew that was true. And so I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I read it and I reread it, and I put much of it down on, recorded this as a cassette over and over. It helped a lot, but it really can shift my my state. So I just kept stumbling through life, and then I stumbled into years of chronic fatigue syndrome. So I was basically bedridden for 6 years, and in that state I realized that the most important thing in the world was to morally educate people, because I was so needy. I thought, whoa, Halsey, controlling Luke with my Jewish media tentacles. Whoa, Halsey, unbelievable. Thank you for the $50 super chat. Wow. But I remember being so sick and needy and thinking, well, we got to morally educate people to, to visit the sick, because I was never in it, and pretty much none of my peers were particularly interested in visiting me. And so when I was sick, I realized this is the most important thing in the world. We've got to morally educate people into visiting the sick and respecting their parents and being kind to widows and orphans and old people and paying their taxes honestly and being a good citizen. That ethical monotheism, God-based ethics, as embodied by Judaism, this is the way to go. This is the most effective way for morally educating people. And living a life of service, that's what it's all about. And I was determined if I could ever get well, I was going to live a life of service. I was going to lead a godly life. And then I started screwing around a lot. and meeting women, and my ideals, they kind of suffered at the hands of my erotic pursuits. So I had these high and mighty ideals, and I just couldn't really live up to them. I wanted to live a life of service, but instead I was living a life of getting sexually serviced. And so I just kept stumbling along, and I managed to recover my health, but I didn't live that life of service that I had intended. And just kept stumbling on, couldn't get a relationship to last longer than a year, wasn't particularly successful in employment, was not successful socially, was not successful religiously, was not successful professionally. Started getting older, wasn't particularly successful sexually either. So like none of my life was working. And one day I said, okay, let me try one more thing to turn my life around, because I've always been this self-help self-help junkie. Let me try this, let me try that. Let me try to turn this thing around. Let's take on this. And I take on the Alexander technique and Kundalini yoga and my Orthodox Judaism. And it was all a mask for my underlying depression, as my therapist intuited. It was kind of a distraction from my underlying depression. And so I said, let me try one more thing. Let me try 12-step program that deals with sex addiction. And I went to that first meeting, and I could identify with what pretty much everyone was sharing, and I started bonding with people in the program, and they let me know, hey, this thing that we've got, it's not the problem, it's just a symptom of the problem. This is not self-help. This is a spiritual program to orient you to lead a life of service to others. And at that time, I was just too depleted to be leading a life of service to others. But then, as I worked the thorough step 1, I realized that my crippling emotional addictions were a guillotine over my neck. That I either got recovery, or my very life was in jeopardy. Like, addictions spiral. Addictions don't normally just stay the same. They tend to get worse. And the end point for almost all addictions is death. And if the addiction doesn't kill you, it will settle for making you miserable. So when I fully understood that, when I got it, and I got that I had this deadly, crippling compulsion, or many of them, that were separating me from other people, separating me from my best self, separating me from God, then when I saw there was really no alternative but to working these 12-step things, that I began taking the 12 steps more seriously. And the third step prayer is, God, I offer myself to you to deal with me, to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to you of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. And started praying this prayer every day, and started living the prayer a little bit, a few minutes at a time, maybe an hour at a time. And I learned that service doesn't have to suck. Like, you can do all sorts of kind of fun things to be of service. You can take a volunteer position where you get to meet a lot of people, and that's fun, and you're of service, and you're meeting people, and you're bonding with people in your volunteer position, and you're getting trained, and you're getting skilled, and you're giving back to your community, and you're taking on responsibility, and you're being an upstanding citizen, and you're helping other people, and you're helping yourself, and you feel good, and it's fun, and service doesn't have to suck. Then I realized, hey, just showing up at a 12-step meeting I'm being of service to other people. I'm listening to their shares. I'm contributing a little bit to the expenses, and I can bring a pleasant demeanor, good spirit to the meeting. Wow. Whoops. I did something wrong. Motor just popped out. Holding it in my hand. Okay, let's try this. What the hell? Oh, that's not working. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, next red light. I'll get things fixed, folks. And then I realized, hey, just going on a phone meeting, just being an extra pair of ears, listening, I can be of service, just like reading the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, the 12 tools. I can moderate the meeting, set up the chairs before the meeting. I can help clean up after the meeting. All these ways that I can be of service, and they didn't suck. And so being organized meetings, set up meetings, run meetings, taking outreach calls, making outreach calls. I've always been a good listener. So suddenly, I don't know what happened there. Oh yeah, I got a phone call. And so I got a broader, wider understanding of service. And I felt happier with myself because I saw that I was constantly being of service to other people. Just by setting up the chairs before a meeting, putting everything away after a meeting, taking people's outreach calls, sharing the meeting. There are all sorts of people who had the similar crippling addictions to what I had, and I could be of service. And so that really helped my life. And I saw that when I was concentrating on being of service, all the self-destructive tendencies that normally trip me up weren't tripping me up anymore. It was sweet. Like my life was tranquil, and I simply concentrated on being of service. Let me change lanes here. Okay, great, a red light. Maybe I can fix this iPhone holder. Okay, here we go now. What's the story here? Okay, bloody hell. Okay, let's see how this works out. Changing lanes intensifies. So, I realized that this whole life of service thing, it actually works, man. Like, instead of saying offensive things in a professional environment, if I don't even have to struggle to restrain myself if instead I switch my focus to being of service to my client, to being of service to the people around me, which frequently means drinking a big fat cup of shut the F up. Often, that's the biggest way I can be of service. Drinking a big, fat, steaming cup of shut the F up. And minding my own business. Wonderful way of being of service, particularly when there's all sorts of drama going on all around me. And by staying out of it, by not taking sides, by not making sardonic remarks, by not making jokes when other people are in pain, I'm being of service to others. Just doing my job, staying in my lane, often being of service to other people. It's just, you just cut right over all your character defects that would otherwise cripple you. Like, let's say you have a a bad habit of stealing. If you're thinking about being of service to the people around you, you're much less likely to steal. Let's say you have a bad habit of sleeping with married women. If instead you just concentrate on doing your job and being of service to other people, you're going to be much less likely to sleep with married women. Let's say you have a bad habit of getting into arguments about politics, religion, and sex in the workplace. Well, if you simply concentrate on being of service to your employer, being of service to your clients, and being of service to your co-workers, you're much less likely, you just can skip that kind of trouble. Like I used to try to apply my willpower to avoiding political, religious, and sexual arguments. I used to try to apply my willpower to not saying sexually suggestive things in inappropriate circumstances. I used to try to apply my willpower to not showing off, to not, attention seek, to not unnecessarily provoke people. And my willpower gave me very mixed results. Overall, it simply didn't do the trick. But if I simply focus on being of service to my employer, to my client, to my community, to my friends, sometimes to complete strangers, then I don't have to try to apply the willpower. It's amazing. I'm not like going through life like trying to clamp down on my tendency to look down women's shirts anymore. I'm not trying to look upskirt either. It just, these problems don't even exist anymore. I'm not perving out the chicks if I'm concentrating on being of service. I'm not provoking people unnecessarily. I'm simply trying to be of service to my client or trying to be of service to my community. It's this amazing shortcut where it's not so much that you conquer your character defects, you just go right past them. Like, as long as I concentrate on putting God first, practicing the 12 steps, 12 traditions, then all the things that used to sink my life don't come up anymore. And I have to remember when I have turbulence, when I don't get along with other people, when I unnecessarily provoke people, when people are just gratuitously mad at me, when I provoke someone so much that they really want to hurt me. That's just, my problems are no longer my problems. Those problems, those aren't my problems. Those are a symptom of my problems. They're a symptom of my spiritual disease, my lack of healthful attachment to myself, to other people, to God. Like this, like I love women who dress in high heels and professional business outfits, like on that TV show about a female lawyer in Los Angeles. I never saw the show, Ally McBeal, but I think she dressed in a lot of hot outfits. So, I love that. I got a fetish for that. But that's not my problem. That's only a symptom of my problem. So if I get up in the morning, just follow this ritual that I've started, which includes abundant prayer, meditation, Torah study, 12-step meeting, program calls. I'm not pining for Kate Upton. I'm not obsessed with that barista. I'm not thinking lustful thoughts about the married woman who lives just up the street. Like, that stuff just doesn't come up nearly as much. So I can maintain emotional sobriety one day at a time by maintaining my spiritual condition. If I maintain my spiritual condition, my tendency to dramatic, vitriolic relationships just drops away. If I maintain my spiritual condition, I get out of abusive work situations, abusive social relationships. If people don't treat me with respect, I just drop them from my life. If I learn to maintain my spiritual condition and start liking myself, it's amazing. I used to have so much self-loathing. I used to just go around saying, oh, I'm so screwed, I'm so effed. And I just really, really hated myself. And then hated other people. It's just not pleasant living life in my shoes. But maintain my spiritual condition, that self-loathing doesn't come up anymore. I can't remember the last time that I was self-loathing. And that was, if you look at my blog from 10, 15, 20 years ago, self-loathing was just a major, major theme of my writing. And if you look at my blog for the past few years, it doesn't come up. I got fired from about 3 temp jobs for inappropriate speech. Yeah, I still occasionally say something inappropriate, but it's mild compared to what I used to do. And I haven't lost clients that I know of, haven't lost income as a result. I got thrown out of 3 acting schools in 1994 and 1995. Doesn't happen to me anymore. I'm not getting thrown out of places. I got asked to leave several different synagogues 10, 20 years ago. Doesn't happen anymore. I can walk into any synagogue and count in a minyan and get along with people and contribute. I used to live from crisis to crisis. Doesn't happen anymore. I used to live with this burden of I've got to find a new woman and seduce her. I've got to get off so then I can go to sleep. I've got to get some attention. I've got to get some tenderness. I've got to connect. Like, just these compulsions were driving me to insane behavior. Just like my neurotic intensity would, it was just really disturbing to be around. It was ugly and it didn't work. And my therapist felt like she was just doing crisis management session after session. She worried that I was turning into a sociopath, or that I perhaps was a sociopath. That I had all these high-minded ideals, but my behavior was just so far removed. Because when you live in this sense of crisis, when you live with this idea that you're in survival mode, then your moral boundaries expand. The things that you allow yourself to do, if you're in survival mode, they go woo, and you start allowing yourself to do anything. If you spy an advantage, you'll just change lanes. See an advantage, you'll change lanes. You'll cut across 5 lanes of traffic, and you don't care how many people you hurt if you see a way to pay the rent this month. If you see a way to get that goal that you need, that you're using as a fix to kind of calm my anxiety. Bye-bye.